Hello and welcome to the channel, and I'm here for a list video for you guys. Now for this list, I'll be going over some of the best albums of the year 1971, albums that'll be turning 50 this year, 2021. Now this list is in no particular order, and I got about 6 albums here, so keep in mind this is just my opinion, of course. So if you can think of other great albums of the year 1971, feel free to let me know in the comments. So let's go ahead and get started. So I think we'll start off with Black Sabbath, Master of Reality. And this is my favorite Black Sabbath album, and I know it's a favorite for a lot of people as well. Yeah, definitely a classic. There's just absolutely no going wrong with this album. Maybe one of the best metal albums of all time. So yeah, definitely a classic, and there's just a lot to like about this album, of course. I mean, you really can't go wrong with any of the songs on here, but some of my favorite tracks on the album would have to be Sweet Leaf, After Forever, Solitude, Into the Void, just to name a few. So yeah, definitely a very strong album, of course, in Ozzy's era. And when it comes to Black Sabbath, my favorite era is the Ozzy era. So yeah, now I know some people prefer Dio's era because, you know, oh, it's more metal or whatever, but honestly, I don't really care about that. But I mean, Dio's era is good, but I do prefer Ozzy's era. So, Master of Reality by Black Sabbath, that's what's coming up first. Definitely a great album, and definitely one of the best albums of 1971. Next, we got Led Zeppelin IV. I know this album is highly regarded as one of Led Zeppelin's best. For me, it's not my personal favorite Led Zeppelin album. Their debut would be my favorite, but this album is I'd say it's one of their best. I mean, it's definitely up there as one of their best albums for sure. And yeah, there's just no going wrong with this album for sure. It's definitely a classic. And I mean, if you're a fan of classic rock and haven't heard this album yet, I mean, what are you doing? Check out this album. So yeah, again, another album that has almost no weak song on it. I mean, you got great songs like Rock and Roll, Black Dog, Stairway to Heaven, and When the Levee Breaks. Yeah, a lot of really great songs. So Led Zeppelin IV, definitely a classic, and definitely one of the best albums of that year, 1971. So next we got King Crimson, Islands. Not one of my personal favorite King Crimson albums, but I do like it though. I think it is a very good album. I mean, it does have the title track, which is the epic from the album, and I think it's a great song, and to me, it's really the highlight on the album for sure. Now, the other songs, they're good, but the title track is what really takes the spotlight, in my opinion. But yeah, of course, King Crimson, one of the best progressive rock bands. So, King Crimson, Islands, definitely a great album. Not one of their best, but I do think it's good, though. So, yeah, when it comes to King Crimson, you can't go wrong with them. They've never really released a bad album, so yeah, definitely a very good album, even though it's not my personal favorite from the band. So next we got Genesis, Nursery Crime, another band in progressive rock, and definitely a very strong album for sure. It's got the song Musical Box, which is probably one of the best Genesis songs. Of course, you got other really great songs like The Return of the Giant, Hogweed, and of course The Fountain of Salmaeus. However you say it, but yeah, definitely a very strong album for sure, and definitely a classic. Of course, from Peter Gabriel's era, so yeah, when it came to his era, besides the debut, you really couldn't go wrong with this band. And yeah, Genesis, they're another band that I don't think has ever really released a bad album, so yeah, even though it's pretty clear which albums are stronger than others, but yeah, so Nursery Crime by Genesis, definitely a very good album. So these last 2 albums are actually from the same artist. So the artist is the band Yes, and what's up next is the Yes album by Yes. One of their best albums in my opinion. Of course, it's got the song Yours Is No Disgrace, which is one of the best Yes songs, easily, hands down. I mean, there's just a lot to like about that song. I mean, the instrumentation and just all that it has to offer. You also got Starship Trooper, I've Seen All the Good People, and Perpetual Change. Some other really good stuff on this album, so yeah. So the Yes album by Yes. And the other album from Yes that's on the list is Fragile. Yeah, Yes has actually released 2 albums in 1971, the Yes album and Fragile. Now, of the 2, which one would I say I like more? That is a good question. I have my days where it changes. I feel like most days I would go with the Yes album, but I'm not so sure. But they're both very strong albums, though, and they're both classics for sure. But Fragile has a lot of really great songs on it. Of course, Roundabout, Heart of the Sunrise, Long Distance Runaround, and South Side of the Sky. A lot of really great stuff on this album. So, Fragile by Yes. If you're a progressive rock fan, haven't heard this album yet, you need to check it out. So, yep. So, there you have it. That is my list of, in my opinion, the best of 1971, or the best albums of 1971. So let me know what you guys think. Are there any albums that do you think that I missed? Do you agree with my list? Feel free to let me know. So on that note, thanks for watching. Have a nice day and take care.